Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. I've got 6 examples of pieces of music that are just like my quest for tranquility or serenity. Sometimes things just pile up. It feels a bit much. Either I'm not feeling very energetic or, external circumstances just feel like a big weight. As a pianist when I was young, playing was a refuge, and it still is in a way for me. And that really informs my compositional process. And so I want to show you some of the kinds of things that I reach for when I feel like the weight of the world is just awfully heavy. So let's take a look. Of course, there's a long tradition of music offering us solace, right? Liturgical music, church music, which, I did come up in, is an enormous part of that. And for us now, there's a big wide river, a giant lane in the musical world of ambient music, music to relax and perhaps do gentle action like yoga or stuff like that. For me, as a pianist, the actual action of playing is also part of that. I'm just going to say meditative or, contemplative practice, but it's also the sound. Now, one thing about sound is that simple, pure tones tend to sort of center us in a great way, whereas noisy, chaotic sounds can be a little bit jangly. But there is a mid-range. For instance, the sound of surf and the gradual sort of waves of white noise that are associated with that. So instead of analyzing too hard, before we get into my 6 examples, I want to show you something that I added to my piano sound. All right, here we go. So if you look right up here in this corner, you can see that I'm basically playing a summing stack. And that summing stack has a regular piano, a felted piano, and a string pad. But I've added this channel, which is a pure ambience channel. And for me, this ambience is a contact instrument that I constructed for myself. And I constructed it from basically a field recording that I made at Esalen. It's a single waveform, and it's just in there in the background behind my piano sound. And I've got it set up so that, there's like some resonances and things like that on it. Well, that white noise adds a beautiful component to the piano sound. Hear it in there? It's going to be in all of our examples. So let's go back to the beginning and take a look at what I played. So because the act of playing is centering for me, I've chosen as my first example probably something that's a little bit hard to play, but I just did a video yesterday and I want to refer you to it. Is it there or there? I'm not sure. I never can remember. And it's just this idea of how I interlock my hands and create kind of simple patterns in each hand, but patterns of differing lengths to create surprising and evolving resultant melodic and rhythmic textures. So in the case of this little piece here, I've decided to go with this F9 stack. There's no third in it, but you can see it there. And against that, those 4 notes. So if I add them all up, those 3 notes plus those notes right there, this is a beautiful F Lydian sound. Beautiful. And then I've changed the bottom 2 notes from F and C to F sharp and C sharp with the same top. And now I get, well, they call it F sharp 7 sus flat 9 sharp 9 flat 13. I'd rather just think of this as a certain scale. So to my mind, this is an F Lydian scale. And this could be either, I suppose it could be just D major, but to me, that B on top makes it sound sort of B minory, so I'm going to say B Aeolian. I mean, just those two sounds together with that beautiful padded string. So here it is, a 3-note phrase in one hand and a 4-note phrase in the other. And they interact to create a longer pattern. This is not something you can do the first time you try to do it, but couldn't you just program something like this? Absolutely. If you're interested in exploring these ideas, this is programmable. Because it's harmonically dense, because I'm using 7 different tones from 2 different scales. It's what my teacher would call pan-diatonic harmony. It's what I call a terrain. It's a layout on the keyboard of like a whole mode or scale or even something you created for yourself. You'll find that as a common thread in a lot of these examples, although it's not in the next one. The next one is a couple of beautiful minor 9 chords. What's dreamier than a minor 9? So the 2 of them we have here are E minor 9 and right beside it, D minor 9. Now there's no scale that has both of those chords in it, so the melody has to shift its orientation. Sometimes F will be sharp, sometimes F will be natural. And we just kind of sit between those 2 sounds. Notice how I put the 9th in the bottom of the voicing in the left hand. So we've got like this really sort of dense sound right there. Minor 2nd. Pretty intense. I'm using all 5 fingers when I do that. Minor 9 chords are a staple of current ambient music, down-tempo electronica, that with a beat to it. Bob's your uncle. Let's go to the next example. Well, the next example shares some things with the previous one but instead of minor chords or minor 9s, minor 6 9s, it's major. So we have 2 major chords side by each, in this case D major and C major, and of course they are both in the G major scale. So they tend to live together really comfortably. And the trick with this piece is what's happening up at the top. So I'm going to just show you for a sec. Now, here's a set of 4 notes. It's kind of a D9 sound, right? I'm going to bring in my 2nd finger and add the B. Now I have a D pentatonic scale, major pentatonic. And that shape right there is the shape from which all the melodic gestures are built. But I keep reorganizing where the melodic phrase begins and where it begins on the beat and where it begins in the shape. So you get a really kind of evolving experience of those 5 notes on top of a simple harmonic foundation. It has a sort of a Sakamoto quality, doesn't it? Kind of a Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence energy. The left hand's D major and C major are open voicings. The 3rd is flipped up an octave to give you an expansive sound. Again, I could just sit in this space as a player and chill. Let's go on. More major 7 chords, but this time a major 7 cascade. And it's the relationship between C major 7 an F major 7 that I'm interested in. It's a plagal relationship. And then also the A major 7 and D major 7 relationship, another plagal relationship. And so we have this little sort of descending cascade inverting the chords. And then let's just melodicize that with a simple instrumental form. Gives us a big bass note. Hear the A with the E in the bass. Major 7s are tranquil, but have a little edge to them, so they make a great sound. And you've noticed, I hope, that the melody there used ninths, and it's not afraid to sit on the ninth of the chord in order to create just that much more propulsion. I've got 2 more examples, but before we go on, I just want to ask that you, if you're not subscribed to the channel, take this time to subscribe. If you've made it this far, it's because you're interested in exploring a kind of a music theory, which I just think is for everyone. And it's a music theory that isn't academic, but rather it sort of focuses on stuff that you sort of need to use right now that maybe you already have a feeling for and understand in your hands as a player, but didn't have a name for before. Every player needs to have a concept. Every composer and producer should have strong ideas about what works for them and what doesn't. And along with those ideas, it's really important to have some sort of language, a way of thinking and explaining to yourself and your buddies what it is you're trying to get done. Well, I think, aside from the historical component to music theory, I think that's what music theory is really great for. You want to have a foundational set of concepts that you can go back to. I hope this is useful for that. Now, like and subscribe to the channel, won't you? I've got 2 more examples. Let's go forward. Like my first example, this is another interlocking hands pattern, but it's not interference of periodicity. It's just a simple pattern. So all black keys, it's kind of a E minor Aeolian sound. The left hand spread out in that same open voicing. And we're going to use the same trick of just raising the bottom 2 notes. So we go from a minor sound to a major sound. Beautiful effect. I love that wave tube ambience as part of the piano sound. In the next example, I'm using something called the Neo-Riemannian slide, which is another very cool sort of trick. And here it is in a nutshell. This D minor triad has a third, and it's a minor third. But if I slide, now that same pitch, F, is the major third of D flat major. It's a powerful sound. Now what I've done is to play a root position version of D minor in one hand and a first inversion D minor in the other hand. And I've begun going in contrary motion like so. Just doing simple arpeggios. Can you hear it? 4 notes in each hand. And of course, from here we could use the same kinds of ideas. For instance, what if we went to C11, C? We've moved this one around quite a bit by using tiny little half-step shifts to get different sonorities, different chord qualities. This is exciting and fun, kind of cinematic. There's the D flat major. And then we're going to go to F minor. The bottom note moves down. And then F major. So all these gorgeous shifts. Just by moving individual voices in the chord by half steps. There, a dominant chord is going to take us back to D minor. Here it comes. Probably should make it D major for a really fulfilling sound. That sort of meandering exploration is, kind of really wonderfully centering for me as well. And I'll just say it again. For me, the playing itself is a part of my sort of quest for serenity. And you're probably similar if you play an instrument. If you go a few days without playing, you may not feel entirely yourself. And that's certainly true for me. Well, I hope you've enjoyed listening to these pieces. They are not, I wouldn't describe them as rigorous, complicated theoretical ideas. They're more for settling into, right? And honestly, a lot of the playing I do is like that. Like and subscribe, ding the bell to be notified when I do my videos, and I'll see you next time.